Alrighty, so here we are, ECX podcast number 10, hitting the double digits. This is going to be a good one.
Yes, it is. Yep, we're back in the shop. I know last podcast we said we were going to do a bunch while we were on the road, but due to some unfortunate circumstances, me getting sick, and then Pytel getting sick, it's been a couple weeks since we've been able to do a pod, but we're back at it again. We got a lot more traveling to do this month, and I think we're ready to grind them out. No more sicknesses.
Yeah, so in this podcast, it'll mostly be a recap of our trip out to the Chicago Street Jam. We spent pretty much almost a whole week heading out and staying out there, going to all the jams they had the week prior, and then the actual street jam itself on that Saturday. And then we stayed a couple days after and headed home. So we had a full week action-packed of scootering. We had a handful of guys that we were with. Team-wise, things kind of fell apart, so it ended up just being me and Wyatt. Mm-hmm. We originally had like a pretty big tour planned in the bus, but life is life, and we weren't going to dwell on things falling apart. So we decided instead of things falling apart and not going at all, me and Wyatt just hopped in the car instead of the bus, just shot up and made sure that we still, made a presence. As a rider, I've wanted to go there for years, and it was finally coming together to where I was able to. So I wasn't going to let that pass. For ECX, it's just important that we go out to events like that. We go out to a lot of street jams, but we haven't been to the biggest one in the country yet, and that's a no-no. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff happened with a lot of our riders where life came in, and I don't know if you guys watched one podcast, I think it was number 7, number 8, somewhere around there, but we talked about doing a tour through the Midwest and then looping up to Chicago, and ended up not everybody was able to come, and one of the skate parks we were going to actually ended up burning down, which is crazy. But yeah, stuff just doesn't line up sometimes. But I told Pytel, we talked about it for weeks. I told him, we have to be at that street jam no matter what. At least, even if you had to stay here and work the shop, like somebody from ECX had to be there. I knew that was super important. But we figured it out. We got Garrett to run the shop. Me and Pytel were both able to go. And I think, with just 2 of us up there, we were definitely able to make the most of it. It was an unforgettable trip. We wanted to do the 10th pod out in Chicago and, do it with a big group or any riders out there. But like I said, I got really sick. I ended up losing my voice for like 5 days straight while we were out there, which is the worst because I can't even ride. And I went out there to just be able to network and talk to people and couldn't even do that either. So we did the best we could. We still made a presence, and here we are getting the recap pod done. And we're just going to tell you guys a little bit about how our trip went, how the jam was, and how scootering is here in the U.S.
Don't sell yourself short, though. I know you weren't able to get the talking things done that you planned to do. However, I feel like because you weren't doing the talking that you had planned, you got more photos than we originally planned. Mm-hmm. You ended up getting a quality edited photo from every single spot, mm-hmm. which I think was really cool. And you got photos of like a bunch of people. So right as soon as we post this pod, we're also going to be posting all those photos that you took, because Wyatt took hundreds of photos, and then when we got back, I went through them. Things got a little bit delayed. It wasn't, we wanted to get the photos up right away, but again, like Wyatt mentioned, I ended up getting sick. And so that week that we got back, I still had a lot of things to catch up on, email and computer-wise. And so it was definitely on the priority list to get those photos edited, but you were editing all the videos, and then I had all the inventory to add in and all that to do. So we got the photos edited, and then we just wanted to get this pod filmed and posted, and then we're going to kind of get everything online all at the same time. But if you guys were at the street jam and you want to see if we got a photo of you, definitely look out for that, because we got tons of photos of a lot of people, as well as before and after the jam. We got lots of photos of our riders and some stuff outside of the actual like street jam day. But yeah, so speaking on that, this video, we went out for the street jam, but like I said, we were there for about a week. So we're kind of just going to go through our timeline of our days and talk out, each day of our trip out there.
Just show you guys what the trip was through our point of view and, how it is. I don't know if next year some of you guys watching are from around this area, but this will give you a good idea of how to get up there, what you got to do, and just get you prepared if you want to go next year.
Yeah, the Chicago Street Jam is definitely one of, if not the biggest event in general in the country. And they've been doing that for, 12 years?
It's something like that,
so, yeah.
Easily over 10 years.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely over 10. I think they said that was either the 12th or the 13th year that they've done it. So, those guys, everybody that puts the work in to get the Chicago Jam together are doing an amazing job.
Yeah, shout out to Chai guys. They're some beasts, and it's nice to see a group of older guys really care about our sport and show initiative to be able to go out there and do something like that for our community.
But yeah, so the first day, when did we leave? Was it Wednesday? Or was it Tuesday that we actually left?
I believe we left Tuesday and came back on Monday. So it was just about 6 days we were out there.
Yeah, so we left. So what did we have? It was about, Chicago is what, a 14-hour drive from here?
Yeah, like 12, 13, yeah. 14 with stops.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we always account for stops when we talk about it. So when we were looking at the distance and how it was going to be about 14 hours of a drive, we realized, like, we have the time in our schedule to stop. So we decided to stop, not halfway, but we stopped at Ohio, and we did one night of camping. We camped on a beach up at, was that Lake Erie, I would assume?
That was Lake Erie, yeah.
Yeah. One of the Great Lakes. I'm pretty sure it was Lake Erie. But yeah, we ended up camping at a campsite on the beach. That would have been beautiful other than the entire week started off with some rain and whatnot. So we pulled up, we set up camp. Everything went well as far as getting camp set up. But throughout the night and the next day, we definitely had some very fun times with the weather.
Yeah, that whole week was fun times with the weather, I think. I mean, we were supposed to camp majority of the trip and ended up, while we were there, 2 tornadoes touched down in Chicago. So, life just doesn't go to plan sometimes, obviously, but you always got to make the best of it no matter what.
Yeah, so that first night, we just did the drive. We camped out. We saw the beach at night, which, not much to look at, but it was a cool evening. And that's, another thing that makes trips like this and just every scooter trip so special is you got to make sure that when you're putting in a full day of work of filming and riding and, a ride trip is a lot of planning and thinking and putting just constant work in. I don't know, people always see us doing team trips and they're just like, wow, great, you're going away, having a vacation. It's like, no, team trips are not a vacation. They are the opposite.
Yeah, literally the opposite. I was going to say, I feel like I do more work on a team trip. I mean, not that I do more work, but I feel like I'm more active on a team trip. We're always running around trying to film something or trying to get to somewhere. I feel like there's always a bunch of chaos going on whenever we're on trips, and it's definitely not as laid back as somebody would think.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of it. That's what kind of makes team trips so special is that this is our work, We do retail, we do scootering, we do content creation full time, and part of that is the things that other people do for fun on the weekends is what we do every day for our profession.
Yeah. So then after that night at the beach, what was that? Tuesday night, there was a ride day in Chicago on Wednesday at 7 p.m. So we had 5 or 6 more hours to go. Had to get through Indiana until Illinois, and make it to, what ride day was that Wednesday?
So after we left Ohio, on the way to the original ride day that was scheduled for Wednesday, because of the weather, it got canceled and changed to that skate park under a skate park under a bridge. And we were looking at the stories of the Chai guys, and some of it was dry, some of it was wet. But so the other thing is that because this ride day was an hour north of Chicago, we originally planned to camp around where that park was, except it was raining there. So it didn't really make sense to drive an hour north for a ride day that was canceled to then camp to then drive back the next day. So luckily, we ended up being able to squeeze into an Airbnb with some of the guys that we knew that were from Jersey and Delaware. So we had a handful of friends that were also going.
Yeah, shout out those local guys that helped us get in the Airbnb. We probably could have ended up getting a cheap hotel or something, but you really saved us in a pickle when we were in one. And if it was just a little bit of rain, we would have toughened it out and been camping. And like we did the first night, it rained. It wasn't too bad. The kind of rain that was coming down was not meant for a tent. That thing would have collapsed on me. And then lo and behold, a day later, there was a tornado. There was a tornado the day after that.
Yeah.
It was just, I've never been to Chicago before, but if that's how the weather is, I might stay away for a little bit.
As far as camping, yeah.
Yeah, as far as camping.
Yeah. Yeah, and if I remember correctly, I think we were on the road. We had left Ohio. We were going through. We were on our way.
We were in Indiana, yeah.
We were in Indiana when we got the notification of a tornado warning. Mm-hmm. And then later is when we saw that there was, I guess, a minor touchdown or whatever. But yeah, there was a lot of hesitation and replanning that had to happen that day. So unfortunately, we ended up missing out going to the rescheduled ride day, which was a bummer. But again, it looked like some of that park was wet, even though it was under a bridge. So it was a bummer we missed out that day. But the way we saw it is we're going to get a place to, stay at that we're not, being torrentially downpoured on. And then it's going to set up the rest of the week because there was ride days all the couple days leading up to the jam. So even though we missed that first one, we were able to replan, refocus, make sure everything was situated with our home base and our nighttime situation. That helped us better plan for the next couple ride days leading up to get a really good fresh start on Thursday. So because of the weather, we ended up kind of losing that day on Wednesday, but it wasn't really a loss because we were there, we were in the area, and again, you never know what's going to happen planning-wise with these team trips. So you might have one thing planned and tornado or.
Yeah, it was a bit stressful that last 2 or 3 hours on our way into Chicago because we were just it's going to rain really bad all night. We're supposed to camp an hour north of the city and we don't really have anywhere to go. So we were just making phone calls left and right, trying to find somebody we can stay with for the night because we had air mattresses and stuff. We're easy. Just give us a corner in a room and we're good. But luckily those guys from around our area hooked it up and we were able to stay with them and it all worked out good. And we were supposed to camp the whole time besides the day after the jam, and we ended up just staying with them the whole time.
So yes, that allowed us to get a nice, beautiful night's sleep inside, not in the rain like the day before. So that was definitely a very nice treat compared to what we were planning to do. And then that left us, we were able to just wake up, get a nice start to our day on Thursday. We headed over to Grant Skate Park. We met up with a lot of guys, did a lot of,
networking.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to call it networking because it's a lot of talking to friends, but at the same time, I mean, hanging out with friends, talking to other scooter people is the same, as networking. So we did a lot of networking that day, just talking to people.
It was nice being able to get in that Airbnb because then we were so much closer to the city. Even though we had to make that 50-minute drive to the ride days at the end of the day, I thought it was really nice being in the city and we were 10 minutes from Grant, if that.
Yeah.
So it was. That's where majority of the people were staying. So it was really nice to be around all the other scooter riders.
The month prior to this jam, I ended up breaking my toe. Unfortunately, I've been having injury after injury. So that Thursday was my first time riding in a little over around a month since breaking my toe. So my whole mission those couple days leading up to the jam was don't get hurt, just network, get content, take some photos, but don't get hurt. So that whole little jam at Grant Skate Park, I was like, I'm here for the street jam on Saturday. I'm unfortunately not here to ride Grant Skate Park like crazy. So I didn't really ride too much at Grant, but I got some awesome photos. So we headed out from there and we wanted to hit some street spots. And one thing that, I was really excited, we headed over to the seawall. And that's something, I mean, that is, when you think of Chicago, as far as action sports go, I would think you're thinking of the seawall as far as notable places to ride at. And that's the kind of thing of, I mean, I didn't do much on the seawall personally, but just being able to cruise up that thing was a surreal experience, something that I've always wanted to do, just seeing it, being in the area, and then getting to cruise on it. And I mean, some of the guys that I was with, I'll let Wyatt talk in a minute, but some of the guys I was with got some gnarly clips. I mostly focused on, photography and all that sort of stuff. But like I said, I mean, we ended up getting one of the best photos ever at here. So I'm going to let Wyatt kind of take it away to talk about the seawall.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I had to get a picture of a flare on the seawall. I mean, if you've ever been into the shop, you'll see a picture of me flaring the seawall in Barcelona. But we had to bring it back to life. Pytel got an amazing picture of me doing a flare on the seawall in Chicago. It's one of my favorite photos of all time, I'd say.
Not only is it a great photo, but something that I think about when I see it is that the composition of the photo is phenomenal for things like you said, like promotional items. It's not just a good photo of a scooter trick. It's a good photo in the sense that it is the perfect composition for, like you said, to sign in the corner. And you don't have to sign over your face or something. It is just laid out so well that your eye just gets drawn right into what you're doing. There's not too much else going on, and yet at the same time, there's enough in the background to keep it interesting and just make you go wow.
Yeah.
And the way that the seawall is oriented is where you're doing the flare, it looks like there's tons of transition. But if you've actually been to the seawall, I mean, obviously for a wall, it's tons of transition, but as far as, in comparison to a quarter pipe, it is not quite the same. And especially with a trick like a flare, even though there's tranny at the bottom of that thing, it's not just like a quarter pipe at the skate park. Once you learn a flare, the ramp's doing a good amount of the work for you. And, I'm not the flare expert to really be able to say that, but I'm aware enough that to the guys that are good at flares, transition can kind of make or break it as far as it being easy or not. And that seawall, not only did Wyatt flare it, but he flared it properly to where he popped off the transition I don't know how to verbally describe what I mean by proper, but if you look on his Instagram, he posted just a little clip of the same thing that I ended up getting a photo of. Mm-hmm. And you can see what I mean in that, you landed in transition, and with that wall, I mean, I was scared somebody would over rotate on that, because the transition isn't where you would expect it to be when you come around. Mm-hmm. So unless you're you of being really comfortable with actually spotting your landing and actually, unless you're comfortable with the actual form of a flare, you're gonna over rotate. You're gonna lean too far forward, and just bad things are gonna happen on a spot like that.
Yeah, I remember as we're sitting there, I was just taking run up after run up after run up, and you were like, I don't know, Wyatt, I've seen you do plenty of flares, and I've never seen you take this many run ups for it. And I told you, I was like, the transition, it wasn't a bad transition necessarily. It just kind of ran out. Instead of mellowing out to flatten out at the bottom, it kind of just at one point just stopped. So right at the end, it was really abrupt, and basically if I were to land straight down and have my two wheels on the wall and lean forward, then I would have had my front wheel go to the bottom to where it met the ground, and I would have just flipped over my bars, and that's what I was scared of. But lo and behold, I ended up doing it. It was first try, right?
I think.
Yeah. I ended up doing it first try. I caught transition on the wall. I surprised everybody around us, including myself. I did not think it would be that, not that it was easy, but I didn't think I'd have the ability to do it that proper, you said before.
Yeah, and you did it the first time you tried it, and I got a good photo of that. But then we kind of had a moment of can you do it again? Because I realized man, I can get a better photo than what I got. And
that second photo, man.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I love about scooter photography is the feeling. I don't know. I'd imagine you guys can see it on the camera. We're getting these mental smiles going on because we're just remembering the moment. We're remembering the photo. We're remembering everything coming together and everything just working out well. And video is phenomenal. I mean, having an edit, having a YouTube video, you can look back on that, reflect on that. But I think photos, as far as when you're just talking about it or reminiscing verbally, I can see the photo. I can't see a whole YouTube edit in my head. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm thinking about reminiscing and remembering a trip, photos to me outlast any edit or any Insta clip that I could have possibly gotten, because a photo you can use in so many more applications. A video is on a screen. So a lot of times a photo can be more impactful to me than an Insta clip would be. And that was definitely one of those photos that I am going to remember that photo for the rest of my life. I mean, just even though I'm not even in it, just taking that photo, just that photo existing is awesome. And you're not the first or the only person to flare that wall. We're not even sitting here being like, well, I did a flare on it, but it's just that's what's cool about a photo. You can do a tail whip and take the best photo ever.
Yeah.
Not taking away how amazing your flare was, but
no, yeah. What do they say? A picture is worth 1,000 words, or something like that. I mean, just not even. It's not even about seeing the picture. It's about seeing the picture and reliving that moment that we all shared together there, and feeling that hype again. That hype that we felt after the first picture wasn't perfect, and then that second one, we were I remember staring at the camera and be oh my god. You were yep, this is the poster. Easy. We knew right then and there, and that's what's really special about pictures, I think, is I can look at a picture and it'll bring me back into that moment.
Exactly, yeah. We had this moment, we looked at each other, we talked it out, you realized you could do it again, and then I really got up in there for the photo, and because I got so much closer that second time, the composition of the photo was just everything it should have been.
But so we did the seawall, we hit a couple other spots that day, including the rail that's right near there. I'm sure if you've been there or seen Chicago videos, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so we hit those, and then we ended up going down to the Schaumburg Jam, which is about an hour away, hour north. Yeah. And that skate park was like, I think there was like a couple little bowls there, and then like a street plaza.
Yeah, there was like a little bowl. The transition in that bowl was a little funky, so nobody was riding it, and I was just like, man, why is this empty? And then I went over, and then I was just like, oh, that's why.
Yeah, and it was in the middle of the park, which is weird.
Yeah, but there was like a waterfall of stairs. Mm-hmm. I guess would be the best way to describe it.
Curved ledge, I do remember that.
Yeah. So there was like a couple, different levels that kind of went down with ledges and rails and stuff. And when we got there, we had grabbed some food, and it was an hour out, so they were already kind of jamming a little bit, and they were doing some stuff on the rails when we got there. But there was this other section that was pretty much, it was almost like a flat court, and then had like rails and stuff. Yeah. And then there was just the one like whole grind box area where most people were just kind of sitting. But there was a lot of people just at that jam. So I mean, we already knew it was going to be a huge event on Saturday, but seeing how many people were at that jam, it was like, man, that was a nighttime jam at a skate park. So we we knew how amazing everything was going to be coming up.
Yeah, seeing all those people, like all those, not even people specifically, like all the pro riders and prominent people in scootering all gathered in that tiny concrete skate park in the middle of Illinois was just crazy. And I think honestly that event, that little jam, was one of the highlights for me of the trip. Is because like I said, I couldn't ride, but that when we were there, I got to talk to so many people and see so many people I haven't seen in years, and just catch up with people, and that was a really nice, like, it's not the jam yet, we're here to just chill and hang out and talk to everybody, and I don't know, it was just really nice to see everybody there and just be able to relax and still have a great time.
So that jam there, that was a phenomenal evening, and then it ended up, after a full phenomenal event, it was torrential downpour, so
I did forget about that.
Everybody pretty much all left all at the same time in quite a rush because it came down hard.
Yeah, and we were soaked. I do remember that now.
Yeah, and I remember in that moment, everybody was rushing out. It was torrential downpour. You could barely even see how much it was raining. I remember like looking at Wyatt as we were back in the car, completely drenched, and being like, all right, let's get to the campsite. Yeah. And just a reminder of like, man, it worked out well that we were able to not be camping this whole time. So. Yeah,
because imagine like getting back in the car all soggy and gross, and then like having to go pitch your tent and then lay in your sogginess. Like, we are very blessed that we didn't have to end up camping, because that would have been disastrous. But yeah, so that pretty much wraps up Thursday, and then moving to Friday, back into the city.
We started the day similarly. We all met up at Grant just because that's a good place to meet up. It's right in the city, and especially if you're just going to be hitting spots, everybody, knows where to be there, and you're not just sitting around waiting for your buddies, because it's scooter riders. People aren't on time. Nobody's communicating too good. So everybody hangs out at Grant. We had a good time again, just seeing everybody. Some people weren't there the past 2 days that we ended up seeing at Grant on Friday, and then a lot of people started to go every which way to ride spots. We ended up doing the same.
It's nice too, because there's so many spots like just around the skate park, like because this Grant skate park is in like Grant Park, so there's a bunch of like statues, stair sets, ledges. There's so many spots just in that park itself, and then right next to it you have the inner city. So then we ventured off into there a little bit. We're riding spots there, and I was unaware of how many spots there were in Chicago. I always knew it was great to ride out there. There's always been a great scene. But yeah, it was just crazy to see, because I didn't know, like, to me, it was comparable to, like, Barcelona. I've been there before, and every corner you turn, there's a different spot, and that's kind of how it felt in Chicago. I mean, it wasn't, like, a prominent spot, but every corner, there was at least a curb, a rail, something you could hit. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, there was lots of spots to ride, and that was one thing that surprised me that I found almost funny, is that as we were riding spots, we were, like, in the depths of the city, hitting spots, and then like a family would walk by like in a bathing suit with a cooler heading to the beach. I was not aware of that. Like, I don't know, every other city I've been to, you do not want to go in the water. You do not want to even touch the water. So the fact that the water there was like cleaner than the ocean.
That's just because we were near Philly and that place is gross.
Yeah. No, the contrast of like riding around Philly and then going to Chicago was insane.
Well, that's why I use that comparison to Barcelona so much, because that's exactly how Barcelona is in Spain. It's right on the water. There's beaches everywhere, there's skate parks everywhere, spots everywhere, and then, like you said, there's just normal people going about their day, and we're just mobbing in between them. So
Yeah, so after hitting spots all day that Friday, then there was another ride day. Friday.
Palatine.
Oh yeah. Friday was a very, very enjoyable ride day. It was I barely even got any riding in because we pulled up to Palatine Skate Park and I got like one little run in the half pipe. It was kind of like a half bowl, half pipe. It was a metal prefab park. It was a nice park. It was really clean and all, but it was small for the amount of.
It wasn't anything special.
Yeah, the park itself wasn't.
Yeah, exactly.
But the event was.
Yeah, the event was crazy. That was the foot race.
Yeah.
Well, the foot race, and I'm sure if you've seen anything from the jam, you've seen clips of that. They set up everybody up on this huge hill right next to the skate park, and I guess their plan was to just do like a race around the entire park, and there was some people got bodied. Is all I can say, really.
Yeah. Our good friend Nick just like slammed the ground. That was probably the funniest moment of for sure that day, but one of the funniest moments of the whole trip as far as like memorable looking back ha-has.
Yeah, he straight up just ran for it. Tried to throw a scooter down. His scooter went straight into the grass, flipped over his bar, flew like 10 feet. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
And this is like everybody's lined up on both sides. There's like 100 people on both sides, and boom, right into the grass.
Yeah. And me and Wyatt were right at the top, so Wyatt was filming with his phone, so he just got like a really good angle of Nick just.
Yeah. It's just cool to see stuff like that. It's like not every jam has to be like banger, like land this trick, get money, blah, blah, blah. It's like we can all get together and have fun and, enjoy scootering in different ways than just like filming bangers.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting, different sort of event, It was definitely more, it wasn't about the scootering.
Yeah,
and I found that interesting, yeah. But,
so that pretty much wraps up Friday, and then get into Saturday, big jam day. What time did we get to Grant? Like 12? I think
I don't remember I think the leaving time was 12.
Yeah, and we got there, I remember we got there a little bit before, and we were like, oh, everybody's, leaving already?
Yeah.
It was, 12:03, and everybody's like, all right, let's go. And I was like, every other jam I've been to, we usually sit around for half an hour waiting for people to show up, but guess you guys are on it this year.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I mean, I think we pulled up. It was 12. Everybody was leaving. I mean, I'm a big fan of punctuality or doing things on time. So to have an event of that scale where they, were on track and on time, that's one, important, and two, insanely impressive.
Yeah. And a nice little thing to add in right before we started the jam, we ended up getting that picture with Tutty. If you guys don't know yet, we announced Tutty to the team. And yeah, we ended up getting that picture with him at Grant, and that was just a cool little moment, getting that picture with him and being able to finally announce him, because he's been on for like a month or two now.
Yeah.
And now we can finally post about him. He can rep us fully, and it's just great to see that come full circle and finally have him publicly be on the team.
Yeah, it was really funny. We pulled up to Grant, and he was talking about we'd sent him some bars to run, and he just had ECX stickers on both sides all the way up and down. And I don't remember what his exact words were, but he said something like, people are, asking questions. So, it's kind of obvious at that point that he was on.
It's a little Easter egg
in
his clips. People were like, oh, what's that bar wrap? And that's what it almost looked like. It was a little bar wrap of ECX stickers.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, because... Yeah, we always hook it up fat with stickers, especially to our team guys, because, we expect them to just hand out stickers left and right to everybody. Because in scootering, but even outside of scootering, I mean, stickers, as far as marketing, everybody wants a sticker. Yeah. Stickers are huge.
Yeah. And then, so we started the jam. The first spot ended up being, one of the most insane of the day. I'm sure everybody's seen by now, but that dude Zeke died on it, 4 times in a row. And, I think we ended up getting kicked out after that, right?
Yeah, I mean, they were trying to kick everybody out almost from the start. I mean, everything went good. But the people, so I didn't ride the first spot. It was a bigger gap. I didn't want to get hurt at the first spot, so I was not against a big gap like that, but I didn't want to start out the jam getting hurt or anything, and a lot of people were getting bodied, so I was like, you know what, I'm not going to ride this one, I'm going to watch, I'm going to enjoy it. But everybody that was riding, I had heard, or it looked like they were having a pretty rough time with the security. They were having to go around them and all that.
Well, I heard literally as we were leaving, I heard one of the security guards go, yeah, wait until I grab one of you and slam you on the ground or something like that. And I was like, dude, like, I get you having to kick us out and stuff, but you threatening children is just not cool. Like, you shouldn't be in a position of power and threatening children on a scooter because they're interfering with your day. I get it. We weren't doing the right thing all being there, but what are you going to do? You can't just go around saying you're going to abuse a kid. Like, that really turned me off and pissed me off, honestly.
What, he like said that to a group of younger people?
He like said it out loud. He was like, once I grab one of you, I'm slamming you on the ground or something like that. And I was like, dude, you're like 50 some years old. Like, there's a lot of adults here too that would kick your ass if you were to do that. So I don't know. It was just a little bit too crazy for me, and I'm glad we got out of there fast because I was not prepared for a scooter versus security showdown.
So that spot was very hectic, very interesting. Some hard slams, but also some phenomenal scootering went down. I mean, it was definitely that was a first spot for sure.
Yeah.
That set it off. Everybody was definitely hype after that. So then we moved along to the second spot, which the second spot was hectic as well because the spot was great, but where it was pretty encapsulated. And so it was definitely like difficult to kind of fish through all the people to actually ride. So I know, it was a couple of people were having a hard time pushing through. So it was like you had to really, if you wanted to get a clip, if you wanted to show your stuff, you had to get out there.
Yeah, I mean, if you see some of the pictures that we're gonna post, you'll be able to tell how many people were in this little space. We were like in between two buildings and like halfway under another one, and it was just way too many people to be riding that one little tiny ledge.
Yeah, so after a little bit, a handful of people definitely threw down pretty good on the ledges, but we left there after not too long, and then we made our way. We ended up going to, it was like an alleyway where there was a dumpster, and it looked like it was a really close rail. But as soon as we got there, everybody kind of realized, like, there's a car in the way. So there was a truck, like, I guess, right in the landing for the spot. And I know I saw Isaac Miller, like, hit the rail, and then I think somebody else jumped it, but I
think Cramps was trying to jump it.
Okay, yeah, I know I saw Cramps, like, setting up, but I don't know if I actually saw him jump it. But I ended up seeing, like, two people hit the spot, but it wasn't really hittable, and it wasn't what it should have been as far as the landing. So that ended up being, like, a full bust. A couple people jumped it, but the spot was officially, like, canceled.
Yeah, I forgot about that spot, honestly.
Yeah, so I probably would have forgot about it too, except you got photos of every single spot that we went to. So when I was looking back and editing the photos, I was like, oh yeah, and I mean later, it's not a secret, so it's not like a spoiler, but Isaac Miller ended up winning the entire jam, and that was one of those things of he won, and that spot wasn't even technically still a spot, and he still
hit it.
Yeah, he still hit that. So like you didn't have to hit every single spot to win, but that's obviously part of winning the street jam is making a presence at every spot. So not only did Isaac make a presence at every single spot, he made a presence at the spots that ended up getting booted out of it. So that was extra special. I just thought that was cool. Everybody was like, oh, we got to leave. And then just, I don't even know. I think he did like an over 50 or a 50 or whatever. But It was just cool to just be like, whoa, he hit it. Because nobody else was hitting that with the dumpster and the truck there. Because you had just had this little alleyway to go through. So
yeah, so then what is it, the Asian rail after that?
Yeah.
I keep calling it Asian rail, but if you were there, you would understand. We pull up and there's like 100, there's like a culture festival going on or something, like a little Asian, I don't want to say like Korean, Chinese, I don't know, whatever, so I'm just going to say Asian, but there's a little festival going on. They have people dancing, singing, eating food, enjoying the weather, and then 200 plus scooter riders show up to ruin their day. But honestly, they all seem pretty cool with it.
Oh yeah, I don't think anybody's day was ruined. It was one of the most wholesome, that was my favorite, like, spot of the day as far as like the vibes and what was going on. It was just a fun time. Half the people that were riding that, not half the people, but the second half of that spot, everybody was having a good time, like doing like manis and then jumping in the water off the like board mani, jumping in the water, all that sort of stuff. A couple guys were just who was it? Paxton like did it in his underwear or something.
Yeah, I feel like that was the whole point to even do that spot. Like, that rail wasn't anything special by any means. I think they were literally just like, all right, we're going to go to the spot. We're going to get people to hit the rail and go into the water. Because literally every time somebody hit it, they'd be like, water, water, water.
Yeah. That was really cool to pull up to because the rail was at some sort of like Asian what's it called, pagoda.
Or something like that. It was like an Asian styled roof
Yeah.
building. You could just tell by where you were at. Like, they definitely had some influence around there.
Yeah, I mean, it was some sort of, pagoda set up for that, and they were having some sort of cultural event. And so we pulled up, and the first thing that I saw when I realized, like, oh, there's like another group already doing something here. So that was one of the most wholesome moments of that spot for me, was we pulled up, and this lady was just feeding this scooter rider, and everybody was smiling, everybody was laughing. I think, all those people kind of realized, like, we had something going on, but they had something going on, so everybody made sure to respect, that group. That I thought was really nice, was nobody was messing with them, everybody was showing them respect, and especially to the guys that were running the event, I'm sure they like to see that too, because that was probably scary to pull up, with all that group, and then there's other people there. So that's just one of those things of, the guys that do that. I mean, that you can't really plan around that. There's a whole city, a whole lot going on. So that, I think, went as well as it could have.
Yeah, all I know is if it was a group of Americans, they would have got pissed at us. So shout out to those people that were at that event. They everything ran smoothly, and no casualties there. But yeah, we moved away from that one pretty fast because OD Riley ended up losing his scooter in the water. He was the only one who let go of his scooter when he went in, so that it was pretty deep there. It went straight down, and they ended up finding it like 2 days later or something, but they spent a while trying to look for that, so that spot kind of ended up imploding on itself. And then what was the next one after that?
Yeah, so that spot ended up being a lot of fun. So we left there, and then we headed over to the next spot, which it was, I think it was a 3-set. It might have been 4, but I'm pretty sure it was a 3-set, and it was basically a mani pad. And they even said, they were like, hey, this is a manual or a fakie spot. They didn't want people doing buttercups down the set, which at that area, that made sense. They wanted people jumping up, doing a mani, getting a nice clip like that, actually tying in both ends of the set. They didn't want a big group just going one direction as everybody else was trying to come up. So they organized that really good. The flow got better, but because of the difficulty of the spot, it was just like the really advanced, skilled guys doing it. But yeah, when we first got there, unfortunately, because of all the rain the day before, there was a lot of mud right in front of it. But a handful of people were moving dirt out of the way, and I was there, like, I was walking past as somebody said, like, oh, I wish somebody would sacrifice their scooter to scrape the dirt away. And I was just like, I don't have grip tape. And I just put my scooter down, and I just, like, raked all the dirt aside. And it was still dirty, still muddy. I hope it helped a little bit, and then I just cleaned my scooter off. But everybody ended up having a good time, but I didn't really ride that spot too much. It started drizzling a little bit. Everybody left as a group, and then the group kind of went into like 2 or 3 different sections as it downpoured on us. So I know that the group that I was in, I don't know, I'd call it the middle group, because there was some people way up ahead, there was some people straggling behind, and then there was like the group that I was in. And everybody that I was together with kind of all huddled under, it wasn't even an awning, but the way that the rain was coming in, this building was kind of protecting this like 4-foot section and keeping us all dry. And so there was like at least 100 scooter guys immediately near me hiding from the rain, and then right near me was like 3 or 4 like regular pedestrians. One even had like their dog. It was like a couple with a big puffy dog, and so everybody was all huddled together. It was an interesting little moment. But that was on our way to the next spot, which was one of the biggest, one of the most hectic spots of the day, which was a ginormous rock gap. So it was like a rock gap to a rock down to like a decking. But when we got there, it was downpouring, and so it was still wet. I wanted to ride that spot, but I'll be honest, I was scared of the rain.
It's not about being scared, it's about being smart.
Well, I mean, nobody got majorly hurt there, slipping out in the rain, but like Devin and who else?
It was Devin and Isaac.
Devin and Isaac, yeah. I mean, they just started in. It was still drenched, soaking wet.
And that material down there was like wood. Like it was like the wood you see on like a maybe not a boardwalk, but something similar.
Oh, dude, I don't even think that's wood. I think that's plastic.
Yeah, like fake wood.
Yeah, it was like that composite plastic stuff. So the fact I don't even know who I talked to after, but I went up to one of those guys later, and I was like, not only was your riding insane, but what you were doing on the wet ground was unreal. Like, yeah. I think he like half cabbed on the wetness. Like
that's ridiculous.
that. I don't know, but that spot was awesome. It was finally starting to dry out. I was riding around. I was doing my best to show, to throw down on the spots and make a presence, but there were some pretty big spots, and that spot wasn't too big for me. But I'll be honest, I was hesitant with the rain, and then I was finally up there. I was warming up. I was doing my run ups, and I was like, all right, sweet. I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna get my goes here. And right as I was about to go, Damari ended up shutting the spot down. So that was my fault for kind of delaying, waiting for things to dry up. But he ended up jumping the entire thing to the flat spot. Unfortunately, because it was that plastic decking, it kind of put a hole. The spot got shut down, and then we moved on to the next one. But that was a hectic spot. Some people really did some amazing, dangerous stuff there.
Yeah, I don't know. Even if it didn't break and he landed it, I don't know what his plan was because he was going way too fast. Because it was literally like drop, landing, fence. So
yeah.
Even if he landed it, he was getting clotheslined by that fence. So
yeah, I mean, there was
interesting to see either way.
Yeah, there was a handful of guys there, like, doing their best to like bodyguard and make sure. So I mean,
yeah, but with that much speed, I think he was taking somebody out. Yeah, I think between the rain and pushing Miles to each spot, everybody was pretty dead by the time we got there. It was almost like a refueling stop for me. And I just remember being super hot, downing a bunch of water, and then like finding you towards the end of that spot.
Yeah, I know. As soon as we got there, a handful of people were like, "Oh, this is a good time to go eat a drink, go like you said, refuel, recharge." So I know, that spot was a little bit more dispersed. There was also some really good ledges, pretty much at the same plaza. So there was probably 20-30% of the guys were just having a nice little sesh, sitting in the shade, riding the ledges while the jam was going on. But
after that one, we got to the last spot, which was, like Pytel said, on the same campus. It was this, what would you say? It was like a 12 say or something like that?
I don't even remember counting, but it was either a fat 10 or an 11 or 12 or something. Yeah. But it was like a good sized spot. It wasn't crazy. It wasn't unhittable. It was the right spot of, this is a massive set. The wall ride was amazing. It had a hubba on both sides, which, I mean, that's a famous spot. I mean, there was plenty of work put in on that hubba to where there was lots of wax. It slid like a dream. So I ended up getting I did a 50 down the hubba. A handful of people were riding it. I really wanted to do a trick out, but it was pretty steep for me. So that's what's hard about a street jam is, my practice time was also while the jam was going on, just like with everybody. So I did a couple 50s and I was really hoping to get a trick out. I couldn't quite tie that together because I didn't want to sit there and do 50-50s in front of everybody. So I kind of just took a step back and went, all right, unfortunately, I'm not getting the trick out in the couple tries like I thought. So I was just happy with I did a feeble and a 50. I'm very happy with that. A couple of the guys were doing the wall rides. Isaac was doing some amazing stuff. He went up and did like 180, fakie 50, half cabbed out. He did a couple variations of that. So
yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised you weren't able to trick out. Like the way you were hitting it on that right side, your bars were basically scraping the wall on the way down. So even 50ing it is pretty gnarly. So
yeah, it was really steep. So when I was actually in the grind, there was a lot of speed going on to where I just needed a little bit more time to feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah, that was a really cool spot though, because they had that second level overhang, and it kind of everybody surrounded the spot in a way on the first level, where people were landing at the bottom of the set and at the top of the set, and all the way wrapped around that.
Yeah,
I'm sure you guys can tell from the pictures, but it was cool to see that many scooter riders engulfed in one area.
Yeah, and that's why it was a phenomenal place to end it, because not only was it a spot worthy of the enders, but it was also just a good place for them. They announced the winners right there. Like we had said earlier, Isaac ended up winning. They had a couple honorable mentions, but I mean, that's something that you guys should definitely watch their full video that they got going. That was definitely one of the best events as far as the layout and the day that I'd ever been to. So that was amazing. I cannot wait to go back next year. I'm really hoping that the planning comes together a little bit better with all our guys to where it's a full team trip, to where we don't just have 3-4 of our team riders there and present, but we have 10, 12 actually throwing down. That'll be cool to see. So yeah. But yeah, and then we had one more day after the jam on Sunday, so we cruised around the city. I ended up getting all of us ECX team riders are working on edits for the shop this year, and I ended up getting my first clip because I'm definitely lacking on my clips because I keep having injury after injury. So I got my first edit clip, which was amazing, and then we cruised around the city some more. Some of the guys we were with also got some clips. And then I went to get a second edit clip, and I ended up re-breaking my toe. So I'm very grateful that I got through the jam, not re-breaking my toe, because like I said, that trip was the first time I rode, and after a month of it being broken, I got through the whole jam without hurting it. And then I did a 5.0 to front bri. I was trying to land in a bank. I didn't quite have the height that I needed. I ended up pretty much just 5.0ing onto my toe after the front bri. I ended up breaking a different part of my toe than what was originally broken, and kind of like re-injured that other previously broken part. So I destroyed my toe. And we're going, we have ECX week. I'm going to be a guest pro at Woodward this week with a handful of the ECX guys. So luckily it's feeling okay, but my toe is definitely not 100%. But it was fun still, even after hurting it. I still, stuck it out the rest of that day. Got a lot of photos for the guys we were with. Even some stuff of Wyatt is going to be able to be posted up as far as photos go. And you got some Insta clips, which was amazing to see. I know you shouldn't have been riding medically, but it was cool. Spots like that, like we were talking about with the flare at the seawall. You can't not ride at a place like Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably won't be back there till next year, so I had to ride a little bit, get some memories to take back with me.
Yeah, so thank you guys for listening to us talk about our trip there. A huge thank you to the Chai guys for throwing that event and allowing us to, attend it and ride there and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so thank you guys for watching podcast number 10. We had the Chicago Street Jam, but since we got back, it's been action-packed, busy, and this month coming up is going to be nothing short of another hectic, crazy, awesome, scooter-filled month, because we have a week at Woodward, ECX week at Woodward, week 10, and then shortly after coming home from that, we have the Providence Street Jam to attend. We are a sponsor for that one, so that's going to be phenomenal. And then we also have a pretty big trip. We'll have another pretty big team trip coming up to the Boston Street Jam the weekend following that. Mm-hmm. So August is scooter-filled, jam-packed. So please get ready for all the podcasts, all the videos, all the YouTube videos, all the everything that we're going to have coming your way.
Yep. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in podcast number 11.